Make a tell on something, and this city boy movement is all about empowerment. Well, I know me now, I don't think we are coming to know. I cannot lose guard you people.
If you don't know today, the federal government of Nigeria does not want me, Peter Obi, to be a candidate of any party, but I'll be candidate.
As Nigeria approaches the 2027 presidential election, a debate has emerged over why Labour Party candidate Peter Obi might face defeat. Recent commentary has focused on celebrity endorsements, campaign spending, and high-profile supporters. But political analysts argue this narrative misses the fundamental issue at stake: voter confidence in the electoral system itself. The question isn't whether Obi has enough bosses, businessmen, or coordinators. It's whether Nigerian voters still believe their votes will count. What happened in 2023? To understand 2027, we must first examine what occurred in the 2023 presidential election. Peter Obi won in multiple urban centers including Lagos, Abuja, Rivers, Edo, and Delta, without significant campaign spending in those areas. His support base operated differently from traditional Nigerian political movements. They were mobilized not by financial incentives, but by conviction that electoral reform would finally deliver transparent results. Before the 2023 election, the Independent National Electoral Commission made several commitments. The bimodal voter accreditation system, known as BVAS, was presented as fraud-proof technology. Electronic transmission of results was promised. A cashless policy was implemented specifically to prevent vote buying. These measures convinced millions of Nigerians that for the first time, the process would be credible. Voter turnout surged based on one core promise: your vote will count. The collapse of trust. What followed on election day shattered that confidence. The BVAS system experienced widespread upload failures, officially described as technical glitches. Manual results suddenly appeared contradicting figures from polling units. Result sheets disappeared. Late-night changes were reported. In opposition strongholds, voters reported missing ballot papers, delayed materials. Some polling units didn't begin voting until midday or later. The contradictions between polling unit results and final announced figures broke the compact between voters and the electoral system. Many citizens destroyed their voter cards. Others vowed never to participate again. The phrase repeated across social media and in homes was simple: what's the point? Key positions in the current debate. Supporters of the current political establishment have begun attributing Obi's potential 2027 challenges to inadequate campaign infrastructure. They point to endorsements by celebrities, business people purchasing vehicles for campaign movement, and the presence or absence of grassroots coordinators. Obi's supporters reject this analysis as what they call gaslighting, a deliberate misdirection from systemic problems. They argue that focusing on campaign spending ignores documented irregularities: ballot stuffing, voter intimidation, selective accreditation, security forces used to discourage turnout in certain areas, administrative disqualifications, restrictions on party agents, and server failures during result uploads. The core disagreement is this: are elections won through better funding and logistics, or through the integrity of the counting process? Background and context. Peter Obi's electoral strength has always depended on high voter turnout. His base is described as belief voters rather than stomach infrastructure voters, meaning they participate based on principle, not patronage. Remove the belief that votes matter and turnout collapses. Analysts note that if 2023's turnout drops by even 50% in 2027 due to voter apathy, Obi's path to victory narrows significantly. This isn't about money. In 2023, he competed against far wealthier opponents and still won in major cities. His challenge is structural, not financial. The argument extends beyond Obi himself. Political observers note that when trust in the electoral process erodes, the outcome can be predicted before voting begins. This creates what some call psychological suppression, the belief that results are predetermined so participation is futile. Why this matters? The implications reach beyond one candidate or one election. If Nigerian voters conclude that electoral outcomes are determined by process manipulation rather than ballot counting, democratic participation itself is at risk. The debate over 2027 is fundamentally about whether Nigeria's elections are contests of ideas and organization or exercises in controlling the machinery of vote tallying. If the latter, then discussions about campaign buses, celebrity endorsements, and spending levels become irrelevant distractions. There's also a broader principle at stake. Some analysts argue that even if Obi cannot win, his continued participation serves a purpose. It maintains pressure on the system. Strong opposition candidates force officials to explain irregularities, attract media scrutiny, mobilize election observers, and make malpractice harder to normalize. Without credible challengers, problematic practices become standard procedure. Current status and what happens next. As of now, no reforms have been announced to address the specific failures documented in 2023. The BVAS system remains in place, but without visible improvements to its reliability. The debate continues over whether Nigeria's elections will be determined by voter choice or by whoever controls the electoral infrastructure. What voters should watch for: any announcements regarding electoral system reforms, commitments to transparent result transmission, and independent monitoring arrangements for 2027. The presence or absence of these measures will signal whether the conditions that built trust before 2023 and destroyed it afterward will be addressed. For Peter Obi and similar candidates whose strength lies in mass participation by conviction voters, the central question remains unanswered. Will Nigerians believe their votes count in 2027? The answer to that question will matter more than any campaign bus, any celebrity endorsement, or any amount of money spent. The 2027 election will test not just candidates, but the credibility of Nigeria's democratic process itself.